Thanks for staying with us on Newshub. And David and I, we're talking about the issue that when security comes into full and we feel safe, then all will be well. Well, at this point in time, we're taking a trip.
Yes, to Abuja.
We've been looking at our next conversation is around the petroleum bill. This is one bill that has been back and forth for over a decade. This is one bill that is expected to bring some level of transparency within the oil and gas sector. But here we are. 10 years and over, it's still back and forth. Yes, we'll pass the baton to our presenter in Abuja, Andona Enya. So good to have you on News Up this morning, Andona. Yes.
David, Show, good morning, guys. How are you doing?
Absolutely, Andona. We know that the petroleum industry bill has been I thought I got a caption from Abuja yesterday that said Methuselah PIB, so to speak, that is being in forever on the table, waiting to be passed. So many amendments. In fact, some people still ask, they don't even know the documents, which of the PIB documents is before the National Assembly as we speak. We know that you have a conversation this morning. I would like for you to take it over.
All right, thank you very much, Sean. Well, just like my colleagues in the Lagos studio have suggested, the PIB Petroleum Industry Bill has been a major source of concern for players in the industry, and of course it has generated a lot of public concern over the years. But with the events of the past couple of weeks, from the moment the Senate President made mention of the fact that there are foreign or individuals or people who have vested interests, who have fought against the establishment of this bill, that has also opened some level of interest as well. And yesterday you would recall that a public hearing had started at the National Assembly. But one thing is certain, that this National Assembly is showing some level of determination to pass this bill into law. And as a matter of fact, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, stated that there is a time frame to this and they are looking at April. Will this be possible? We'll find out in the course of our discussion. Now, my guest in the studio this morning is Senator Adeyemi Oriolowo. He's representing Osun West Senatorial District at the National House of Assembly, or the Senate, the 9th National Assembly as it is. He's the Vice Chairman, Senate Committee on Privatization and Mineral Resources. I'd like to thank you so much, Senator, for coming through this morning. Yes. So,
good morning.
So we'll start off. I would like to start off from your principle. We recall that, in fact, nobody had expected this when he stated the fact that there are vested interests, who are so determined to ensure that this bill does not see the light of the day. In other words, does not pass through the National Assembly or assented to by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And we've been wondering, who are these people or this group of persons who are so determined to see that this bill does not see the light of the day?
Thank you very much. You will see that the question you ask me, I cannot answer you that one straight, because it is very difficult to know who these people are. And also the person that said that there are people, both internal and external, that are working against the bill, may not even know them. But when you see the handwriting, when you see the effect of certain forces, you will know that there are forces. Because if you are making efforts and yet you discover that the efforts are being touted, then definitely there could be certain forces that is working against that effort. And that is why we can say that there are forces that is working against the actualization of the bill. So to say that it's A, B, C that is doing what is not, then it is not feasible.
But wouldn't it be an effort in futility if a claim has been made that there are forces against the successful passage of this bill, and you have a time frame, or you're so determined to ensure that this bill is finally signed into law, isn't it going to be an effort in futility if you don't know really who the enemy is, as the case may be?
No, not that. I'm saying that we don't know you see, in this country, most of the issues are being prosecuted and determined on the media. There are some things that you don't really put on the media for reasons. One, your assertion may be wrong. You may even when you are right, you may not be able to prove it. So if you say it's somebody that is doing this, and the person now takes you to court or wherever, if you cannot prove it, then, but when you see the handwriting, the person is doing it in the closed or secretly, and you have to take a step. It's either the person comes out to say, you have done something that is against our plan, or the person just keep quiet forever. So what I'm saying is that not that I'm saying that we don't know the external force or the internal force that is behind it, but what we know is that these are enemies of the country. So it's sufficient for us to say that on the screen.
Okay, but you know, we're talking about a bill that is going to beam some level, or as a matter of fact, is going to beam transparency, every level of transparency on the oil and gas industry, which a lot of people have complained over the years has been shrouded in a lot of corruption. In fact, some people will say that the oil and gas industry is a cesspool of corruption. But then again, we still have to go back to the issue of proving that beyond reasonable doubt. However, stakeholders in conversations will always suggest that the IOCs have significant interest they would want to protect. Some would also say that as the Nigerian petroleum industry is structured right now, talking about the NNPC, they would also have interest to protect, among others. And for that reason, such persons will do all and everything in their power to make sure that this bill does not see the light of the day. How do you respond to that?
Oh, well, I think at the stage at which we are now, to say that the bill will not see the light of the day, well, we need to be patient, because one of the problems we have in this country is our inability to allow for gestation period of any issue. Because once a step has been taken, I know that there are three major stages of bill passage. The first one is the first reading. You have the second reading, which is all within the National Assembly and the proposer. But once it has reached the stage that has started yesterday, the public hearing, once at the public hearing, the public opinion tweaks towards do it, well, you can be sure that it's as good as it has been done. It is been done. And on the other hand, too, what you need is for the president to assent to it. The only thing you can look at is when it gets to executive, you can now, the public now can put necessary cases forward to make it to be assented to as quick as possible. Because if you look at different acts, laws, and bills in this country, it's not the problem of having laws or regulations in place that is troubling us in this country. It's the problem of compliance or delayed compliance.
Okay.
Sometimes you have problem of total non-compliance. Sometimes you have a issue of delayed compliance. That is our problem, mainly. I'm not saying as one of the three major functions of a legislature I'm not saying that we don't need to make laws again, but I want to tell you that those that we have on ground, they are either not complied with, or we have delayed compliance.
Okay, I will come back to the issue of the compliance, but very importantly, the National Assembly, more than ever before, seems very determined to ensure that this bill is passed into law and eventually assented to by the president. But why all of the sudden interest? This has been over 10 years. This has been in and out of the National Assembly for over a decade right now. But why the sudden interest and determination to make sure that this bill is passed into law?
Well, this cannot be a very strange phenomenon, in the sense that when you look at the present Senate, the 9th Senate, you will see that in future we may have something better than this. But since the advent of this regime, this democracy, I want to say, and I think I am old enough to say that we have not had it so good in the National Assembly. You will see that at the onset, some people will be saying, okay, this is a rubber stamp Senate, this is a no Senate. But when you look at it, that all over the world, to give a solution to any problem, you don't need to be violent, you don't need to be forceful, you don't need to be antagonistic to other arms of government, especially the executive. This present assembly, under the leadership of distinguished Senator Ahmed Lawan, has proved that with necessary and good patience and steps, you can still effect the needed change without some. So what I'm saying in effect is that there's nothing so sudden about this bill.
Okay, Senator, I'll have you hold that thought. We'll go on a quick commercial break, and when we come back, the conversation will continue. Stay with us. Welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is Newshub on Silverbird Television, and we are basically looking at the petroleum industry bill, changing dynamics of the oil sector. Our guest in the studio is Senator Adeyemi Oriolowo, and we have been looking at what is going on so far as the bill is concerned. Now, before we left up, Senator, you were talking about giving an answer to my question, which has to do with why the Senate is determined to, or the National Assembly is determined to pass this bill into law this time around.
As I said earlier on, this is an assembly that is believed that has really worked on something that works for the country. One of the cardinal principles of this assembly is to do things, laws, bills that will work for the people of Nigeria. And as I said, and you too have said, that this bill has been on for over 1 decade. You will notice that our president now has always been, he was also in the National Assembly, either in the Senate or Rep, within that 1 decade. And probably he has been noticing all these bills that are going to be very useful for the country but are not passed. So by the time he is the president now, he knows that it is an opportunity to bring things that will work for the people of Nigeria up. So, and that is the major driver of the need to do the bill now and not even later.
Okay.
And so you will see that when people are talking about transparency, okay, it's a major factor behind this bill. But when you look deep into the bill, you will discover that you still have more advantages to derive from the bill when passed. Apart from transparency, which is very, very important, you will discover that it will encourage what we call local or domestic production. It will also support accountability.
Okay.
You see, which you can also say you are finding within the transparency principle. And also, it will improve the economic earning of the state, of the country. Because I think one of the issues raised in the bill is that it will encourage local production of oil and gas products.
Okay. Senator, there are people who will say that this drive is coming a little bit too late, given the fact that globally the world is trying to shift from fossil fuel to renewable energy, and here we are still talking about a PIB which ought to have been passed long before now and, you know, exploited as much as possible. So are we looking at, when we look at the global trend of events, are we looking at a situation where this bill will, how well will it play out for us in the not too distant future, from now 10 years and beyond, bearing in mind that the world is even looking at moving beyond fossil fuel into renewable energy?
Well, I want to start with a fact that it is better late than never.
Into renewable energy.
And apart from that,
Well, I want to start with
even when you are
fact that
shifting from one type of fuel to another one, you will see that even in Nigeria today and even in the world, we are shifting even from crude oil to gas. And we are talking of fossil fuel and other renewable energies. If you don't have any framework on ground that determines the transparency and accountability on the one you are using, you are probably not going to get it right there, even then. All you need, by the time you have something on ground that serves as a structure or framework, when you get to the other stage, what you need is just to review and to amend as and adjust as necessary to key into that. Of course, whichever type of energy you choose to use, you still need this transparency and accountability. So you need that one. And not only that, I want to tell you that it could be an alternative to what is coming up in future.
Okay.
It's not to close it 100%. One experience I had in 1986 when I went to the UK, I discovered, and even that one is happening, one aspect of it is happening up to today. I discovered that they were still using the narrow roads that we used in the past, with work still going on in some places whereby they are expanding the road to ask them. And also this issue of right-hand driving, left-hand driving. And I asked one of the Britons that we are doing the programs together, and why are you, the whole world, even Nigeria, that we counted to be developing nation, or that are in development are far behind Britain, has shifted to the global something. They said, okay, they are looking at the cost of this shifting, that if it is done suddenly, it could affect their economy. So they prefer to be using what they are using and keep expanding, keep moving along with the global trend little by little.
Okay.
So instead of just jumping on it, of course, it will have an effect on the economy of the nation.
Okay.
You will recollect that when Nigeria was to move, their capital from Lagos to Abuja, it was, I think it was, Soja were there then, Babangida was there, even though maybe he had a cause to do what he did. But Baba, Chief Obafemi Awolowo said that the movement from one capital or from Lagos to Abuja should have been gradual, not so sudden, so that it will have no awesome impact,
Okay.
sudden impact on the economy of the nation.
Okay.
And we all know what has happened. So there are merits and demerits of jumping into it. So for Nigeria to be doing what they have not done before on this line, it's not out of place.
Okay.
Because once we have that framework on ground, when we are ready to move into the next stage, we have a framework to work on.
Okay, so let's look at various stakeholders currently involved in the public hearing. You also have members in the petroleum sector directly employed by NNPC, Labour, basically also there, and host communities. As a matter of fact, today the host communities also will be presenting their case. Now, I think it's going to be, if we sit back here and just say that this bill scaling through all the way, it's going to be easy, we might not be necessarily being honest about it. So what if these various interest groups have their issues? I'll give an example, for instance. What if, for instance, employers or employees of NNPC feel as though their jobs will be threatened going forward? Because with the provision of the bill, we're looking at the fact that there's going to be a regulator is going to be established. So at the end of the day, we just might not see an NNPC as we know it again. So what are you doing to cater for all of this interest moving forward?
Yes, I think one of the major problems we have in this country is to think first of self or a group in any advancement. Of course, there is no omelette without breaking an egg. You cannot have an omelette without breaking an egg. Because and I want to let us know that we have to look at the generational impact or benefit of this law. And I want to say that when an environment, a good environment is created, nobody should fear. If you are moved from a place, if due to a law or a regulation, your position in an industry is shifted to another one. If the law is for the generality of the people, you will still find your comfort level in that particular new dispensation. So I don't think there is need for anybody to fear if something is going to work for the whole country. Because once it is good for Nigeria, it will be good for the individual components inside the country. So we should not look at that. And I'm very sure that wherever the pendulum swings, it is still going to be those who have experience in all oil and gas industry that are going to be employed.
Okay, our time is fast spent, but by way of rounding up, I know this is a lengthy process and the conversation is definitely going to continue, but before April, just like the National Assembly is so determined to make sure that this bill is passed, what do you see? Do you see this as a possibility? Does this really portend hope? Can Nigerians be very hopeful that this bill will be passed into law and complied with, as the case may be?
Thank you very much. I think, as I told you, once a bill is brought to the domain of the public, that we call a public hearing, all of you will know, once it is the public, the general opinion that the law is good for Nigeria, the issue of passage between now and April is a foregone conclusion. It's a deal done. But if it is otherwise, because National Assembly is working in tandem with the opinion of the people that sent them there.
Okay.
So if if you will see it even from the outcome of this public hearing, if the public hearing says that, oh, this law is okay, if that is the result, the April is even too far for it to be signed.
All right then. Well, unfortunately, we have to end the conversation here for one of the time. But thank you so much, sir, for coming through.
Yes.
Our guest today on the program has been Senator Adeyemi Oriolowo, and the discussion has been centered around the PIB, that's the Petroleum Industry Bill. Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed, and we'll keep asking all of the relevant questions and wait to see how all of this plays out in the course of the public hearing, and if, just like the Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives has said, if by April we have this bill signed into law by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, talking about President Muhammadu Buhari. Well, that is it from this end. Back to you, David and Shio.
All right, and then a beautiful conversation there. I'm happy at one of the questions you did ask him, which is one question I've also asked a few petroleum experts here. Nigeria, at this point in time, we're looking at passing a governance bill for the oil sector when attentions are moving away from the oil sector. That, I think, is a very salient question that I think Nigerian government, key players within that sector, lawmakers themselves should be thinking about. We can't stay talking about a petroleum industry bill while the world is moving away from oil and gas. That, for me, is very key. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right, David. Fantastic interview there, underlying. Yeah, of course, see you tomorrow too. All right. Have a beautiful day.
All right.
All right, and that's News Hub today.